Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the 12th race of the RTG Street Stock Series, as we are here this evening at Lernerville Dirt Track, getting ready for what's going to be 50 laps of racing, but we still got some qualifying races to get to that point. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer, and Sam, something that we've seen here in practice, these drivers really skating on the edge, literally.
Yeah, you got drivers that are going to be trying to work the outside line, drivers trying to work the inside line, but it's all about getting up front, finishing in the top 4 to get yourself into the featured race. Space Car getting ready to pull off, and we're about to go green for 8 laps.
6 drivers here in the first heat, Grant Wesley and Bill Bachmeyer on the front row as Bachmeyer takes it really wide going through that corner. Wesley going to try and hold the bottom. Other drivers in this field, the 69 of Terry Bauman, the 57 of Scott Schroyer, Martin Karch in the 33, and Brian Hogue in the 14.
Oh, and there goes the 33 on the, I believe that's actually the 14. I take the back, yeah, it's 33 that went a little bit off track, drifting on to the outside. You got to be careful of that here on this track. There are a lot of no barriers on about 3/4 of this track. You got to be careful, but up front, it's the 88 machine of Grant Wesley, who was one of the fastest cars through practice.
Oh, Terry Bauman almost loses it there out of turn 3, and we almost had another car up into the wall there, Bill Bachmeyer, as he runs Wesley up the track. Those two almost made some contact.
And the higher and higher they go, the more that you got to be careful not to dump it off the track, and you got to stay in that little bubble zone that your car likes to hug on the outside. Now, it's only the top 4 that are going to be making it into the race, and it's looking pretty secure on who our top 4 are, unless we see some contact from our leaders that are being pretty close to one another.
Yeah, you say secure, and I'm watching guys like Bachmeyer running that top line. I don't think it's secure just yet. Someone could easily make a mistake and overstep that cushion, as there you see it right there. Bachmeyer hard into the outside wall, and that's going to slow him down and lose him a position all the way back to 5th place, moving Martin Karch into that transfer spot.
And we're only running 8 laps in this 21 machine. That's a hard lick, as he is down on power at the moment, and it's going to be a struggle for him to catch up to the 33 machine, who's slowly gaining up on the 14.
Grant Wesley out in front has won the last 2 races, 3 of the last 4, so he has been on quite a momentum streak as Brian Hogue slings it high, wide, and handsome through 1 and 2. Brian Hogue had to start this heat all the way back from 6th. He's been able to make up half the field in these 6 laps.
And he's doing a fantastic job at that, as the 21 machine out of the race. He's going to park it in the rear, as well as the 69. And so that means our top 4 that are on track right now have put themselves into the featured race.
So now it's a question of who's going to start where based off their finishing positions in this heat. Wesley right now with about maybe 5-6 car lengths over Scott Schroyer. Looks like he would be the pole sitter, as the white flag is going to be out this time, one more time around for the 88.
Really, the closest battle is going to be for that 3rd position, but it's just not close enough. Everyone just spread out equally right at the moment by about a half a second or so, and our top 4 have been lined up and are headed to the featured race.
Grant Wesley with the wins, Scott Schroyer 2nd, Brian Hogue 3rd, and Martin Karch in 4th place will be the ones that will advance into the main event, and now sets us up for our 2nd heat of the evening, which is going to see Brandon Sauls on the pole position alongside of Steve Robbins. Row 2 with Scott Monksgard and Sean Kerrigan. And in the final row, Corey Deal and Brian Orto.
We're really looking at all the drivers that made it for today's race. I believe we had about 12 drivers that made it for both of these heats in total. I think all of them will actually make it to the featured race. I think due to the fact the numbers kind of work out for all the drivers to make it, we'll have to wait and see when we're done with the heats, but the drivers stacking up and getting ready to go.
Now, something we were told ahead of going live was based off of the iRacing dirt physics. These drivers here, from practice to these heats, they are dealing with the same type of track conditions, and what I mean by that is it was 0% tire grip into the track during practice. By the time we get here to the heats, the tire heat and the tire rubber that's in the track is still here in these heats, and it gets even worse here in the 2nd heat for these drivers.
Actually, it's a change by race control just right now. The next heat for warm-ups will be on a zero worn down track. So the track actually will be reset before that final heat for the drivers to have a better chance of keeping their car under them for the rest of the featured race. But that's later on in the night. We still have this heat to go. This is heat number 2, our final heat of the night before we get to our featured races. The way and see who's going to be finishing where for qualifying time.
We'll have to see what these drivers learned from watching the drivers in the first heat. Obviously, everybody wants to go to that outside line that seems to be the fastest way around the racetrack, but you run the risk of running off the course, and much like in the first heat, 4 spots are going to be up for grabs to transfer into the main event as Brandon Sauls gets us underway for another 8-lapper.
And Saul's going to be on the inside trying to hold off Robin on the outside, but Robin gets a great shoot. His 15 car goes off the track, off of turn number 1.
Sean Kerrigan out into the woods. Nope, he's back. He'll bring it back on course. Pretty much relatively was able to get back on course nicely, and even though he slipped back to 60, still got a shot if some of these drivers up ahead of him run into some issues.
The car to watch out for is going to be the 97, who's dipping it down low, but
Oh,
up front it's
contact!
all crazy. As it looks like 76 keeps it going, and 97 off track. He'd be able to keep it right now.
Corey Deal is now back on track. There's the 71 of Brian Orto with a little bit of front end damage. He's now going to go 3 wide up the middle, putting the pole sitter for this heat, Brandon Sauls, all the way back to the 5th position. The 97 of Corey Deal, who was off course a moment ago, he's now up into a transfer spot.
Corey Deal really is digging it deeper than everyone else. I saw him during practice. He was putting that car into the grass entering turn number 1 and 2. He's going to be trying to do everything he can to get by this 71. But up front, I mean, got to give it to Robin, doing a fantastic job pulling away from the rest of the field.
Steve Robbins is gone. Monksguard in second has about 1.2 seconds back to this 4-way battle for 3rd and 4th. That's Brian Orto in 3rd, 4th place Corey Deal, and behind them you just had Sean Kerrigan get around Brandon Sauls, move him up to 5th. Now he's setting his sights on either the 71 or the 97 to make a mistake here in these final 3.5 laps.
Yes, based off of practice, it's going to be Deal who has the fastest car, but at the moment on track, it's going to be actually the 44 car that's put the fastest lap of the race. I take that back, actually, that was Robin who's done so. But Deal, he's kind of stuck in traffic, not able to make any big moves at the moment, stuck on the inside.
Still side by side for that 3rd position, and if they continue to run like that, if Sean Kerrigan can lay down some good lap times, he might be able to get up here, make it a 3-man fight for those transfer spots. As you see, Brandon Sauls back there started out in front, but he is really struggling with that machine as he's all the way back there in that 6th position. And coming around this time, it will be the white flag lap for Steve Robbins in that 073.
Steve Robbins started on the outside of the pole, starting up in 2nd, I should say. Never looked back on the outside, had a clean turn 1 and 2, and continues to look clean in that 073 machine.
Steve Robbins is 3rd in the point standings here for the Dirt Late Model Series, as we'll follow this battle for 3rd place to the line. Corey Deal way up the track, he might lose it. Kerrigan tries to swing around the outside, but looks like Deal will hold on to the position. The final position of 4th behind Brian Orto, Scott Monksguard, and your heat winner, the machine of Steve Robbins.
And now track is going to be reset and ready to go for these drivers. It's going to be a 5-minute warm-up for these drivers. And then we've got ourselves a 50-lap featured race with all the competitors that were in Heat 1 and 2. They're all going to fight right back at it for this featured race.
So while these drivers are out here for these 5 minutes, let's just quickly talk about what we saw there in those heat races and how we think it's going to apply here to the main event. I mean, everybody seemed to want to fight for that top line. With 50 laps, we were talking about this pre-broadcast. If you get off track, more than likely a caution is not going to come out to save you, so there is little room for mistakes.
Yeah, there will be a caution if we see any really contact or cars being completely sideways and stopped on course, probably on the front stretch. The back stretch, usually all the cars get dumped off of the course if they have any incident. So it's going to be tricky for these drivers out here, but with it being 50 laps, those first about 20 laps or so, the track's going to feel pretty good. As well, out there on warm-ups, the track has been reset. They're putting in new rubber into the track. That means it's getting worn and worn the longer we see drivers out there on the course. So you might as well get some practice on what the course feels like now, because that is not how it's going to feel like later on. Better get a good feel of your machine and try to get the best position you can early in
Now,
this race, because it's just going to get worse and worse.
Now, I've been given a crash course here tonight. My dirt racing knowledge is not that good when it comes to these type of races, these dirt short track races. One thing that you'll be seeing here this evening, outside of the initial start restart, where they will be double file, is what's known as a Delaware restart, where the race leader will be in a row by himself, and everybody else will double up behind him, giving the leader lane choice going into the corner, which I think is going to be very important based on what we saw happen with Sauls in that second heat, where he was trapped on the inside line. Yes, he was the pole sitter, but he wasn't in the preferred line going into turn one.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, Souls is going to be in a very tricky situation now, as he'll actually be starting last for this featured race when he had the pole for heat number 2, and we actually have the grid here prepared. I believe up front it's going to be Grant Wesley leading the pack, and then it's in second it's going to be Steve Robbins, and it's basically going to be every other from the winners of heat 1 to the way that it ran down for heat 2. So all those drivers on where they finished on during their heats kind of sets them up to where they're going to be starting for this featured race.
Let's give you a look at your point standings coming to this race as well. We mentioned the fact that this is the 12th race of the season. After tonight, only 3 races remain until a champion is crowned, so very late in the season here. We could be looking at a lead up to a potential championship battle. Grant Wesley, as we mentioned, 4 wins on the season, 3 of them coming in the last 4 weeks. He has a 44-point lead over Brian Hogue. Steve Robbins is third in the points. He's 72 points back. 79 points back is where we find Brian Ordo, and Sean Kerrigan is right now tied for 5th in points, 117 points back with Michael Massey. Other drivers that are in the field tonight that are up there in the point standings, Terry Bauman, he currently is 7th, 120 points out. Scott Monksgaard is 8th. He is 123 points out. And Martin Karch is 10th in the points, in a 3-way tie for 10th in the standings, 323 points out. So realistically, it looks like maybe a 2-horse race unless Steve Robbins and Brian Ordo can capitalize on something this evening, and Grant Wesley and Brian Hogue run into some issues based on just how far we're into the season this already.
Yeah, it's going to look really difficult for these guys out here, especially, I mean, we saw that Robin had a fast vehicle, looked good out there, but it's been all Wesley so far with the pace. He's been so quick. It's going to be hard for anyone really to stop that machine.
We're looking here at the 80 of Grant Wesley as these drivers have just a little under a minute here in warm-up before we will go green for a 50-lapper. We saw before 6 drivers out on track in both heats, 12 drivers all transferring into the main event, which means the track's going to be a lot more congested. But much like we've seen in dirt track races, it's really going to be all about track position. The drivers that start up front more than likely are going to be finishing up front unless they make a mistake.
Yeah, the mistakes will probably happen in the first about lap or 2, as we saw for that heat number 2, where cars up front got congested and an accident happened. Just a reminder, this is not the only featured race we're going to be seeing tonight. We've got the late models immediately after these racers are done in the street stocks. We'll be covering that action as well. So as we're getting prepared for this race, most of these racers are going to be in that late model race, so it's going to be an entertaining one to watch later on.
Warm-up is over, and the field will now get themselves ready to grid for the main event. And as you alluded to, Grant Wesley going to be on the front row alongside of Steve Robbins. This is the second time these drivers have been to Lernerville this season. However, the previous race winner, Gary Switzer, is not in the field, so we're guaranteed a different driver taking the checkered flag here tonight at this dirt track. We'll give you the full field rundown here as the pace truck will be leading them off of pit road for 2 pace laps before we turn them green for the 50-lap feature. Grant Wesley, Steve Robbins, we already mentioned the front row. Scott Schroyer and Scott Monksgaard going to be row 2. Row 3 is where we find Brian Hogue and Brian Orta. Martin Karch and Corey Deal going to be in row 4. Bill Bachmeyer and Sean Kerrigan in row 5. And Terry Bauman and Brandon Saul is going to make up the 6th and final row for tonight's main event.
I'm trying to look back and see, but it looked like there might have been some. I'm trying to make sure that this didn't actually happen. I saw the 71 take off a little bit early, and he might have I think he stopped in time, almost ran into the car in front of him. So that was just them waiting to take off. Impatient and excited to go are most of these drivers.
Dirt racing is such a unique type of racing. We're so used to calling, asphalt races, concrete races, but dirt racing, it's the old adage from the Cars movie, turn right to go left. That's exactly what these drivers do here to be able to make it into the corner, have that rear end slide around and allow them to then get back to the throttle, right in almost counter steering it off the corner onto the straightaways.
I actually went back and looked. There was contact made between Ordo and the car in front of him on the outside. Now, as they were waiting to take off, just the 71 machine got a little excited. A little bit of front end damage shouldn't hurt him too much, but that is something to watch out for if he has to bump into anyone else later on in this race.
Especially with the fact that he comes into this race second in the points, 38 points back from the points lead. So really cannot afford an early issue here this evening at Lernerville. As Grant Wesley is going to get us underway, the 50-lap feature is green.
Wesley with a fantastic start, pulling away, but all the action behind him. Who's going to be getting congested and who's going to be making some contact? So far clean and no one off the track.
Almost 3 wide back there. Almost looked like 4 wide with drivers running all sorts of different lanes through 1 and 2. As the 44 of Scott Monksgaard trying to get around the outside of Brian Hogue. That's the battle for 4th up ahead. Battles on for 2nd. That's the 57 of Scheuer to the inside of Steve Robbins.
Scheuer tried to make the inside work, just lost his momentum in the center of the corner, got a little bit too sideways, trying to push the inside line. Did not work for him as Grant Wesley starting to pull away and get into that groove. It's looking like the pass, really the battling is going on for about 7th on back. As I say that, that's when everyone else is trying to figure out what lane is the fastest one to go.
Yeah, Brian Hogue, unfortunately for him, started on that inside line, and he has drifted back to the 7th position, now able to find a way up to the top line, see if he can make forward progress as the bright pink and white machine, the 33 of Martin Karch to the inside there on the 21 of Bill Bachmeyer. That's for 5th.
Now, these guys are all over the place trying to figure out who is going to be making the bold move. The outside line is where you want to be. It's where everyone's going to be feeling the most comfortable, and the car's going to be running the fastest, keeping that momentum. But you can make a lot of bold moves on the inside and try to gain time on the drivers in front of you.
But the problem with that top side, as we've already seen in the first heat race, that outside line, there's a razor's edge. You overstep that cushion just enough with that right rear tire, and you're going to find yourself, of course, at the 21 with some contact. He's going to save it. Looked like that might have been the 44 he got into. Tremendous save by Bachmeyer.
Yeah, Bachmeyer was up there battling for that for that 5th position, and got a little bit too much contact there. They got him loose and drifted him all the way back. And, it's one of those, like you said, razor edges. These cars can take a beating, but they also can really hurt you if you hit someone the wrong way.
And he almost made some contact there with Brian Hogue trying to tuck back up into that outside line. And with what we saw right there with Bachmeyer is what I was talking about, how you're counter steering coming off of the corner onto the straightaway. When you're that car on that inside line, yeah, you're counter steering to go straight, but if you've got a car to your outside and you turn it to the right, you may get up into that car's right or left rear. As we almost had a car off course there. Brian Hogue close, and this one just went off. Scott Monksgaard in the 44.
It was getting pressured a ton by the 33 machine. Might have gotten some contact that pushed him off the course, but really these cars, it's going to get worse and worse as this run goes on. And we're only on lap 9, coming to lap 10 of this 50-lap featured race.
Right now, 1.4 seconds from Grant Wesley back to Steve Robbins. Robbins has about a half second back to Scott Scheuer, and then another half second back to Karch. The best battling right now is going on for that 5th position. That's where the 21 of Bachmeyer continues to hound the 14 of Brian Hogue.
Yeah, Bachmeyer trying to gain back to where he was before he got into that contact and lost a ton of positions. That 21 machine looks quick, but he's trying to find the right places now. He's going to duck it low, try to slide up inside of the front, in front of the 14. Does so, but here comes the crossover.
It's going to be Hogue now to the inside line. This battle for 5th continues on between the 14 and the 21. Hogue might not be able to get back to the throttle soon enough as the 21 got off course just a tiny bit there, and now kind of jumps over the bump there going into turn 1.
Yeah, there's a slight bump entering corner number 1 that a lot of drivers try to avoid at all costs, but other drivers try to utilize it to really help your car turn. If you can hit the bump the right way, sometimes it can cost you and launch you off the track, so you got to be careful with entering turn number 1.
What is it like for these drivers inside the cockpit? We're on board with Brian Hogue in the 14, and you could see it coming off the corner, the dirt that just flies up into the air, and this is what you're seeing right here as the dirt flies up in the windshield.
21 into the inside, into the outside wall, just dug into corner number 4 a little bit too hard and launched himself off of that little bumper part that you want to feel snug, but just not able to, off the track and into the wall.
Got a bird's eye view there from the cockpit of Brian Hogue, and you can see that right front damage on the 21 car. Now, these drivers do have one fast repair at their disposal should we get a caution, but you brought up, Sam, the fact that really you don't want to use that fast repair here.
Yeah, it's really difficult to use pit road here. Pit road's 30 miles per hour, and it's a pretty long pit road. You gotta go basically off the track and in no man's land. Then you gotta come back onto the track, and sometimes you can lose possibly 2 laps to 3 laps by trying to just utilize that one fast repair.
Bachmeyer falls back to 7th as a result of that issue off of turn 4. Looking here at a 3-way battle brewing for 2nd place. Steve Robbins, Scott Schroyer, and Martin Karch. This is all going on 2 seconds behind Wesley, but this is the best battle up at the front.
Karch is looking quick, but the main thing is that he's been the driver that I've been most nervous about, as he's been putting his car right on the edge of the track, almost dumping it off of turn number 4 every single lap. And, that's just the fact that he knows this course so well, but at the same time, the later this run goes on, the more you got to be nervous that he might get a little loose, throw the car off. Or, that's a better move by the 33, diving it in, just not keeping the momentum.
Well, let's not forget that Martin Karch actually went off course in the first heat race. And, that just says the determination of these drivers, going up there, having that issue in the first heat race, but get to the main event, you go right back up and do it again.
Yeah, you see the line that these guys are running. The preferred line, outside the line, is where you want to go. But if you're going to make a pass, you really have to dig your car deep on the inside and try to slide up in front of the machine you're trying to pass. Main issue is that you'll lose so much momentum, as it looks like the 71 machine contacted the inside wall, absolutely dumped it off of corner number 4. Got loose, got on the gas just a little bit too soon, and around she went into the inside wall. Gonna try to use that fast repair and then get back out there. Brian
Ordo 2nd in points, had that damage from on the grid, and now a lot more damage right here to, it's like the left side of his number 71. That's going to cost him valuable time on pit road and valuable positions as well on the track to the guy he's trying to chase down for this championship, Grant Wesley, who's out in front. And, if you look up here at the line that these guys are running, especially there through 3 and 4, you can see there is a clear, lighter line up on that top side. You can see it right here as well through 1 and 2. That is where the rubber is being laid into the track.
Yeah, the rubber is going to slowly get built in, and it's going to be more defined by the end of the course. You'll see where it's going to be getting actually a lot darker, and it's going to really start looking like rubber is actually being placed down, and that's just the dirt being kicked up. And as well as it's getting harder and harder onto the ground. As slick as contact in 10th place. Car up onto the wall, able to continue going. It's the 69 machine as well as the 44 making contact. 69 car off course, trying to get back up there.
Got Monksguard and Terry Bauman getting together as Bauman trying to hang on to that thing, does get it back on course.
He was wall riding on the outside of that corner number 1 and 2, finally getting it back on track. And now he's got to be careful with the leader behind him. He's got to figure out how to get out of the way and let this 88 machine go on by, as the 69 machine continuously just getting looser and looser out here on track.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, too. Everybody wants to run that outside line. The race leader comes up on you. Where do you go? Oh, maybe off the leader's nose, as Grant Wesley gives Bauman a little bump there through 3 and 4, trying to get that 69 out of his way. He does not want Steve Robbins to start reeling him in.
No, Steve Robbins at the moment a little under 2 seconds away from our leader, waiting to see if anything could happen. And that once battle for second is kind of faded away. That battle was about 7-8 laps ago, and now the gap is almost to a second and a half.
There's a battle back here for 8th place. That's where Brandon Sauls tries to make a pass on Sean Kerrigan. Not quite able to do it. Oh, contact! Puts the 15 up into the wall.
Oh, and Sauls immediately came over the comms, so that's my bad. He drifted up just a little too high, putting the 15 car into the outside wall, hurting his chances getting a better finish. Right now, 10th, getting passed by the 44 machine.
Corey Dale gonna get around the 21 of Bachmeyer, who I think might have had another issue there out of turn 4, so move the 97 of Deal up to 6th.
Yeah, I'm going to take a quick look back to see what happened to that 21 machine because he has just been having a rough time. Same spot, same issue, dumps it off. Luckily did not hit the outside wall, but pretty much did the same exact thing and battling right back to the 97.
Yeah, Corey Deal messed up turn 4, actually had his rear tires. Oh boy!
Oh!
Yikes! I mean, how in the world do you wheel that race car when you've got your left side's on one portion of the track, your right side's on the other, on the outside of the track, and basically the middle of your car is straddling the peak up there? How do you keep that thing straight?
It's all about pedal control and making sure that you don't overexert your rear tires so it just throws you off the course. It's kind of figuring out that balancing point of a little bit of left, a little bit of right, and trying to get your car just onto the track. Because once it's on track, you really got better control. But it's so difficult to get it back on course, and it's so hard. As 21 goes off.
Bill Bachmeyer, and he's going to go all the way off course, all 4 tires off the racing surface, if you can call it that. Now he'll get back on track, so that moves Corey Deal back up to 6th, and Bachmeyer now back to 7th as he's going to overdrive turn 4 and hits the wall again. Boy, he's hitting that quite a bit. Is that just based on the fact of the line he's running, or is that right front damage affecting his corner exit?
It's a mixture of both. I mean, he was running such an aggressive exit off of 4 compared to everyone else. Everyone else seems to be trying to diamond, which is when you try to hit the apex at the highest point and then you dig it down on the inside. Well, the 21 machine's kind of doing a late apex as he's going to dump it once again off the course in front of our leader.
Grant Wesley's now having to deal with a lot more traffic. That's Bachmeyer out of the way. Now he's going to have to deal with Scott Monksgaard and Brandon Sauls just up ahead. Those two are in a battle with each other for the 7th position. Sean Kerrigan has already gone a lap down. We saw Terry Bauman go a lap down earlier as well. So right now we've got 8 cars running on the lead lap, and we could be down to 6 if Grant Wesley can get by these next 2 machines ahead of him.
Wesley right now in a pretty precarious moment if he starts moving forward. Other machines that are having some battles right now. The battle for 3rd looking hot and heavy as we're starting to see a 3-car battle for that position.
That's Scott Schroyer, the 57. The pink 33 of Martin Karch, and Brian Hogue back there in the 14 car, now up inside of the top 5. These 3 drivers separated by 0.6 of a second, which equals out pretty much to about maybe 2.5 car lengths.
Yeah, they are digging it hard, and they're trying to give everything they can out here as the track is starting to drift away from most of these drivers. We're getting closer and closer to that 10 laps to go. They've been doing a great job so far for most of these drivers to stay clean and running well on the outside. 69 car spins it out in front of our top 3.
And a problem there for Brian Hogue, who was in the 5th position, trying to get up as high as 3rd as he messed up turn 4. He now loses ground, and caution is indeed out, as I believe it's Brandon Sauls in the 76 who may have brought this yellow flag out.
Sauls immediately dumps it in, and that is shocking to see as Sauls off of turn number 2 gets completely sideways and then gets inside grass, and his car comes to a complete stop on the racing course at the bottom of exit number 2.
Well, Sauls this entire race seemed to want to get that inside line working. Unfortunately, though, not many drivers running down there, so you're not really working with a lot of grip if you're the only car down there trying to put down some rubber.
I mean, yeah, really with dirt track, it's kind of the opposite. We're trying to look for the areas that haven't been utilized, and that's where you'll find a lot more speed and grip compared to other drivers. But man, with this caution coming out, it kind of shakes things up to the fact of we'll probably have possibly, I mean, we're going to have less than 10 laps to go. I think we're going to have about 8 laps to go with these drivers.
With that traffic, slowly but surely, it was looking like maybe second place Steve Robbins was starting to reel in Grant Wesley. Now he's going to be up basically in the same zip code with that 88 again. There's going to be a couple of drivers that have shown some good short and long run speed that are now going to try and see if they've got a shot at maybe wrestling this win away from the 88.
looking at cars. It looks like the 21 machine got a wave around, and he's having a little bit of fun out here on the pace lap because he is absolutely just wheeling it around. Actually, took it over the corners a couple of times off of two. But right now, another caution lap has been entered for these drivers.
Like Sean Kerrigan's going to take a wave around as well in the 15. So looks like 9 cars will be on the lead lap when we go back green, with Wesley the leader, Robbins in second, Schroyer, Karch, and Hogue going to be your top 5, followed by Corey Deal. I believe Scott Monksgaard would be in 7th, and Bill Bachmeyer in 8th, as our scoring is having a little bit of an issue here with the drivers crossing the line. And Sean Kerrigan will be the 9th place car, last car on the lead lap.
And looks like the pace car is going to be pulling off. I think we're going to be going this time by. 71 machine got his car fixed up, back on track in 12th position, 19 laps down, but at least back out there to finish out this race.
Green flag in the air, contact for second between Schroyer and Robbins. Those two trying to settle it out to see who can try and run down the 88. We're 3 wide here through 1 and 2. Here comes the 33 of Karch.
And these guys up front, they're getting 3 wide, trying to figure out who's going to be finishing up in second, as Grant Wesley going to be pulling away from everyone else. And then also the cars back from 6th on back. They're trying to figure out who can make this final push. Really, my eye is on, Robin to make some type of move here. Just not able to get as deep on the inside as he wants because he's got the 33 car always diving it deeper than what he's doing.
And then you got the 57 taking his line away there on the top side. Whoa, 1 car way off the course. That's the 44 of Monksgaard. He keeps it straight, and I don't even think he hit the wall there off of 4.
No, he didn't. He was very close to hitting it. Lost a lot of speed. Car that's making some moves, though. That 21 machine, he's back at it in 6th.
Trying to get around the outside of Corey Deal for 6th.
No!
Oh, yeah, 2-3 car wreck here off of turn 2. Caution is out.
Oh no, the 33's involved, the 14. Those were all drivers in the top 5 trying to figure out where and how to make a move here on turn 4 and on exit. Just space clogged up.
It was hard to tell, but that may have been a 3-wide situation gone wrong. I believe the 57 rather, Scott Schroyer, was in the vicinity as well.
Yeah, that looked like Steve Robin came in and they all slowed up and not able to slow down enough. Made contact with the 33 machine and then around. He went 14 car, kind of just an innocent bystander that got caught up.
And you see it right there. Oh, wow. Tough break there for the 33 of Martin Karch, who had been able to work his way pretty much from close to the rear of the field. I think he started this main event race back around the 11th position, might have been 10th. And he got a little hit there at the end from Brian Ordo in the 71 as well. One thing about the dirt tracks, though, you don't necessarily have to have the prettiest car to win the race. So you mentioned that these cars can take a beating. So some of these guys, even though they've got some damage sustained, they're still probably going to be up to speed.
Yeah, they should be all right up to speed, but it's always nice to have a clean car up there. It's working good, and that's kind of what we're seeing with the 88 machine up front. Not really having any troubles for himself, just watching the chaos be all around him.
Not sure what the 33 is doing. I saw he was stopped up on the top of, I think that was turn 3. And now looks like he's bringing his car into pit road.
Trying to figure out what 33, not able to sure nor gotten any word of what is going on. As it looks like we're going to be going with the single file restart. Green flag up in the air.
Gonna be 7 laps to go here for Grant Wesley. Scott Schroyer there in 2nd place, and the highest that Corey Deal has run all night. He's in 3rd, maybe not. Here comes the 21 of Bachmeyer looking for that spot inside the podium.
Bachmeyer has the most damage out of all these cars and really proven it that you don't need a clean car. He gets completely out of shape off of 4.
You saw that car snapping through the middle of 3 and 4 and almost went around off exit. Scott Schroyer, though, he's trying to make some ground on that inside line, trying to close in on the 88 of Grant Wesley, as we got some real battling going on back here. Caution's out.
14 car, 15, as well as the 69, all involved in this last caution, and it just makes it harder and harder with all these cars here, and actually EOL giving out to the 14 machine.
There were a lot of drivers back in that area, including the 073 of Steve Robbins. I saw the 44 of Scott Monksgard was back there as well. As we'll go back and take a look at this third caution of the evening. Now, these drivers do
Ooh.
have green-white checkers at their disposal, a maximum of 2 should we need them.
And that one looked like the 15 car got out of shape and came down onto the 14 car.
Oh, wow, yeah, you can see right there, absolutely. 15 darting right in front of Brian Hogue, and there you see Terry Bauman back there spinning it out, trying to avoid running into the back of Hogue's machine as well. So a 2-car incident there, nearly a 3-car incident off of turn 2.
Yeah, looking at 69 machine, that one was him just losing it on himself. That wasn't him trying to avoid anyone. He lost it and came down and then had to really woe up because his car finally got finished spinning right near the 14. So luckily no more cars were involved in that one. But once again, we're going to be doing a single file restart, coming closer and closer to the end of this thing.
Well, Terry Bauman, with that spin, he was the free pass car into the last caution, so he's back in the lead lap. We currently have 10 cars that are on the lead lap out of 11 running. Brandon Sauls has brought his 76 back into the garage area. Brian Ordo currently 19 laps down as Grant Wesley dips it down to the inside. Green flag's back out. 5 laps to go here at Lernerville.
5 laps to go, and Grant Wesley just wants it to go green. The 21 machine, who's been hard charging throughout the field, up to 3rd place now.
Now he'll be under fire because here comes Corey Deal for that 3rd position. Deal to the bottom, Bachmeyer to the top side. And then behind them, you got Monksgard and Robin. Whoa, Wesley hit that bump going into turn 1. That might have upset the car just a little bit as Scott Schroyer trying to close in. Here comes Bachmeyer. He's now looking for 2nd place.
Bachmeyer, like we said, aggressive through 3 and 4. His exit is really high, and that's what's been costing him with a lot of this damage that he has on his front right end. But he's trying really hard here to dig into 1 and 2 to avoid that bump and just to really get closer and closer to 57, just not able to make any moves at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like Grant Wesley doesn't mind that bump in 1 and 2 because he continually seems to hit it. Let's see if he does it again here going to this corner. Yeah, that right front goes up into the air before he even gets into the corner.
It kind of is helping him throw his front end into this corner just a little bit better than what everyone else is doing. But that really the battle for 2nd is some of the best stuff to watch right now.
And it was nearly a caution there as we almost had some contact. Grant Wesley has taken the white flag. 1 lap to go. We're racing back to the checkers now no matter what. As Bachmeyer slipped a little too high through that corner. Scott Schroyer may have 2nd place in hand as Grant Wesley off turn 4.
Oh, there goes the 97 off the track. Gonna be losing all that time. A possible top 4 out of the way.
And Wesley's going to cross the line for his 3rd straight win, his 4th win in 5 weeks, and will continue to build up the points lead with only 3 races now remaining in the season.
A fantastic run, really dominated by Grant Wesley. I know he didn't want all those cautions. It kind of made it hard for him to finish out this race, but once he got green, that 88 car really was the most dominant machine out there.
Well, Grant Wesley in those races I talked about, those 2 previous back-to-back wins coming into this race, he led the most laps in 1 of them, but last week in that race, which was at the USA Speedway Dirt, he only led 6 of the laps. Of course, he led the correct one. He led every single lap in the main event here tonight as he parks that number 88 in victory lane. Let's take a look at the finishing results from this race as it's going to be Scott Schroyer bringing it home in 2nd. Bill Bachmeyer, you mentioned it, maybe the most wounded race car that we saw up at the front, somehow brings it home in 3rd. Scott Monksgard in 4th, and Steve Robbins will complete the top 5. And a couple of these guys down here that came into this race running very well in the point standings that may have had a shot of cutting into Wesley's lead. Brian Hogue was 3rd in the points coming into this one. He's going to finish in 7th. And of course, 2nd in the standings, Brian Ordo finishing 12th out of the 12 cars.
Yeah, I mean, this was a hard-fought battle for a lot of these machines, and you saw it up front with cars making a lot of contact late in the race, as well as in the back from start to finish. A lot of contact all over the place, also struggling to stay on course. And that's something we're going to continue to see in our next featured race.
Which is going to be coming up here in a moment. We're going to go to the intermission screen, as you've already seen your finisher results. This is where we'll take the opportunity to talk to some of our top three finishers from this race, and we're going to kick things off with third place finishing Bill Bachmeyer. Bill, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Well, we definitely alluded to the fact that your car looked like it was pretty battered, but it still looked awfully quick. We saw you high, wide, and handsome through those corners. How did it feel in the cockpit?
Oh, it started to feel a lot better, I guess, later. The racer went there. The cautions helped me out, A few more laps would have been interesting, I think.
We saw everybody migrating up to that top side as the preferred line. Was there anything to be gained on that inside line? I think you were one of the few people that were able to make a slide job actually work.
The top line was pretty king there for a while, it seemed. I don't know, it seemed like the bottom in 1 and 2 was starting to come around there.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, that was a fantastic run on your part to really fight from dropping all the way back to around 10th place and then finishing up in 3rd. How was it trying to pass so many cars, getting your way up to 3rd place?
That was the hardest part, I'd say, is, right away I slipped up and got off the berm, and then I was just thinking, I think we were pretty spread out, and then the caution came out and started getting up top, and she started hooking up pretty good and started passing cars, so that's where I stayed.
Obviously you guys took part each in 2 heats. You guys were in one of the 2. Was there anything from those heats you were able to learn to apply to that 50-lap main event race?
Yeah, I would say that corner 3 and 4, you better come in a little lower, else you might go over the top.
Well, obviously a tremendous performance out of you here in the street stock race. 3rd place run for you, Bill. We're going to do some shout-outs now.
Thank you, guys.
And I believe we have our race winner in victory lane here, Grant Wesley, 3rd win in a row. His 4th win in 5 weeks. Grant, you're definitely on a great momentum run. You've got 3 more races till trying to win the championship, but everybody back there was fighting tooth and nail for positions. What was it like being out in front?
Man, well, first off, really excited to get a win here with the broadcast. I know here on the iRacing Dirt side at Rolling Thunder, I've been having some bad luck. It seems like when the TV cameras come out, something happens to me. So yeah, really happy I was able to put it all together tonight. But yeah, man, that track, we reset the track state there after the heats, so we had a fresh track for warm up, and with this car count, I think it turned out for an awesome race. The start of the race, I felt like the bottom was quicker, and being the leader, you're kind of you can be a sitting duck. You have to keep searching on the track to see what's working. It's a lot easier to be the guy behind it or behind the leader to see what's working and what's not. But yeah, at the start of the race, the bottom was quick. Then I was kind of switching it up a little bit. I tried running the top of 3 and 4 and shooting the bottom in 1 and 2, and that was working really good there for a little while towards the middle of the race, and eventually it all slicked off real good, and then I was able to make that cushion work really well. Entering turn 1, there's a big patch of moisture. I was going in there and hitting the brake and setting the car early and just rocketing through the rest of the corner, and it worked out good for me.
Sam alluded to this, and I want to get your take. We saw you going into turn 1. There was a huge bump going into turn 1. Your right front would go up into the air, and Sam was saying that was probably helping you being able to go into the entrance of turn 1 to be able to make that corner. Was that the case?
Yeah, it's a real fine line right there. If you catch it just enough, it definitely helps your entry, but if you catch it too much, you'll bottom that right front out. Which is actually what I did with 2 laps ago. I went in there a little too high and just slammed the right front down, and the car just pushed straight, and I thought I was going over the edge. And all I could do was just let off the gas and just ride the brake and hope I didn't go over the crest, which I didn't.
Yeah, Grant. I mean, during that whole entire race, we were seeing cars struggling off of turn number 2 and off 4, just trying to stay on course. And sometimes when cars were trying to get back onto the track, it was coming in front of you. Were there a couple times where you were a little bit nervous of cars coming back on track?
Yeah, I definitely was. There's a few times. I know, we got some guys that aren't entirely used to this track, and this track, it's got a lot of characteristics that are unique. And sometimes it's hard to judge where they're going to go. We made it through it.
Well, Grant, obviously a tremendous run for you here tonight. You lead all 8 laps of your heat race. You lead all 50 laps here of the main event, and 3rd win in a row. Tremendous momentum booster here for you heading into the final 3 races of the season. We're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
I'd like to thank everybody that's all of our regulars that's been showing up week in, week out. I know, everyone's got a lot of stuff going on through the summer. I know this COVID doesn't make it easy, but, it's summertime. Car counts are a little low, but we're still having fun here at Rolling Thunder. And so I'd like to thank everybody for showing up on a regular basis. I'd like to thank the owners, Sean Prime, Terry Bauman, and David Cannon. And I'd like to thank you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast once again.
That's Grant Wesley, his 4th win of the season, his 3rd in a row, and his 1st here this year at the Lernerville Speedway. Congrats on the great run, Grant. We know we're going to be seeing you in a few moments over in the late model, so we'll let you head on over there and get some practice in for that.
Thank you.
And we have our 2nd place finisher, Scott Schroyer, here as well. Scott, we saw you in a pretty tight 3-way battle for that 2nd position around the midway point of this main event race. What was that like for you, knowing that you were kind of boxed in there, someone right out your windshield and someone right up your gearbox?
It was it was pretty exciting, no doubt. I mean, the track there, right there about the middle of the track, the bottom started going away and the top started coming in, and it was just everybody was hunting for moisture and just trying to stay off everybody. And it got kind of tight and kind of exciting there for a while. At least it did in the 3-way battle there.
And we saw quite a number of drivers be able to pick their way through the field from mid-pack up to the front. You were one of those drivers. How difficult is it to be methodical at a track like that and not to overstep your boundary of trying to pressure yourself into making a move on someone to pass for position?
Well, this track right here is, you have got to be spot on. If you miss your mark just one little bit, especially if you're trying to run the top, you're going to jump the cushion and you're going to get in trouble. So it's so important to just be methodic and maintain the same routine lap after lap and just try to hit your marks. Hats off to Grant. I know he was trying to hunt around and find moisture and stuff like that, but it's just, I'm pretty unfamiliar with these cars. I don't run them all that much, and I know Grant and Martin pretty good at them, and so I was just trying to hold my line and hope I didn't cause any wrecks.
Yeah, Scott, it was an interesting time out there racing. Overall, though, how hard was it when those cautions were coming out, just getting you off of rhythm? Was it difficult to get back into rhythm after those caution flags were coming out?
No, yeah, most definitely. Because, you run lap, I think we go 30 laps there without the first caution or so, and you get in a routine and a rhythm and you're going, and then all of a sudden now you got cars stacked up behind you in front of you, and everybody's going for that same spot and getting into one, and it's hard. I'm telling you, it's difficult to maintain that the concentration and rhythm and stay out of the car outside of you or causing an incident behind you, and I think that's what happened there with Martin. There towards the end, he had jumped the cushion. I got back by him, and then we went into 3 and 4 there, and it hit the slick spot, and I had to let up just a little bit, and I think Martin did too, and I think he got tagged from behind. So I hate that happened to him, because I know he and Martin and Grant, they're pretty equal in these cars, and that might have been a better race for second than me, I can guarantee you.
Well, nonetheless, you bring it home with a tremendous run of 2nd place there, Scott. It was a lot of fun to watch you working your way from mid-pack to the front of the field. And we're going to do some shout-outs now.
I'd just like to thank you guys for broadcast. I didn't even realize it was a broadcast race tonight, and be looking forward to watching it. RTG for putting on the series, and the good guys that are in here that race week in and week out. I don't always make it here every week, but I try, and teammates there, Brian Hogue and Martin Karch at PSO. So Appreciate everything y'all do.
That's Scott Schroyer. He brings it home P2 here tonight. His 4th start of the season results in his 4th straight top 5 finish. Congratulations on a good run, Scott. Thanks for talking to us, and believe we're probably going to be seeing you as well, I think, here in this late model race, so we'll let you get out there on the track.
All right, thanks, guys.
User was moved out of your channel.
So that's going to conclude the coverage here for the street stocks. These drivers have about 8.5 minutes, a little more than that, of practice to be able to test the late models out here at Lernerville Speedway. So as they do that, we're going to step aside for about 8 minutes or so. Keep it here because we will be back for another main event race here at this very slick dirt track at Lernerville Speedway for the late model race. It's going to be the, I believe, 12th race of the season for that series as well. So stay with us here at Flatout Racing Network. We'll return momentarily for another main event race. And we are back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for the 12th race of the RTG Dirt Late Model Series. We're back here again at Lernerville, and if you tuned in earlier this evening to the Street Stocks, you'll pretty much know most of what is going on for this one, as we're going to be having 6 drivers in the first heat. I believe we have 6 drivers in the second heat as well, 12 drivers in total, racing for their starting positions in the 50-lap main event. Seth Cole and Samuel Dyer here yet again to bring you the action for this one. Sam, and you alluded to the fact that the street stocks, they're a lot easier to drive than these late models are going to be.
They are extremely easier. The street stocks are underpowered compared to the late models. These machines have a lot of horsepower under them, and they really want to really get loose and squirrely immediately going into the corner. These drivers are going to have a handful all race long, and even with it being an 8-lap heat, it's still going to be a struggle out there.
There were going to be 6 drivers scheduled in this heat, but only 5 will be taking the green. Scott Schroyer, who finished second in the street stock race earlier on this evening, starts alongside of Steve Robbins, Martin Karch, and Sean Kerrigan in row 2. And Michael Massey was supposed to be with Brian Orto in row 3, but he's by himself. Green flags out for this first 8-lap heat.
And we saw Steve Rogers win his heat in the street stocks. We'll see if he can fire back, but right now, under a heavy pressure on the inside.
That's going to be the 33 of Martin Karch trying to get second place as Robbins does swing around to the lead over Scott Schroyer. Schroyer tries to get back to the left rear quarter panel, almost got into the left rear quarter panel. And again, like in the first one, these drivers are battling for that 4th position. That's the final transfer spot, and that's where you find Sean Kerrigan trying to hold off Michael Massey.
Yeah, if we were having our full 3 heats for this race, we would be talking about that top 4 making it in. And looking like, based off of all the drivers that made it into today's race.
Oh, contact!
Oh boy!
Massey into Kerrigan, who saves it. And now he'll try and cross the 45 over. I almost wonder if maybe Massey gave him the spot. Feeling bad that he put him into the wall.
Yeah, he gave him the spot, trying to let both cars get underway. Massey with a heavy damage on the rear right. So that 45 machine, a lot dented in on that quarter panel. Going to have to continue pushing forward, though. But I believe all the drivers that are going to be racing in our heats will make it to the featured event. But right now, up front, it's Steve Rogers and that 57 machine racing hard for the lead and trying to make that slide job work, just not able to.
And why are these drivers racing so hard for this race lead? Well, they're in the heat where this is going to be the pole sitter decided. And we saw in the street stocks race earlier, Grant Wesley started on the pole, led all 50 laps en route to the checkered flag. So right here, these drivers, they're fighting because they know there's very important starting track position at stake.
And cars are now dumping it off of the course. They're having some issues. That's going to be Ordo, who's going to be putting his car already in the pits. 2 other machines going into the pits as well, as our leaders figuring out where they're going to be finishing up. Coming here in turn number 3 and 4 on the white flag.
Stroyer dives it in deep. He's going to get crossed over. Photo finish here between these two.
Robin. Robin got it.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
No, they're saying Stroyer got it.
How did Stroyer get it? Oh my goodness.
I mean, a lot of times at these dirt tracks, the start-finish line's not very defined. It's basically based off the flag stand, but holy cow, 9 1,000s. Are you kidding?
9,000s.
Wow.
Well, Robin was trying to get another heat win tonight, but will not get that. It's going to go to the 57 instead. But already showing fantastic racing in heat number 1. Let's see if heat number 2 can top it. I mean, you got a couple of thousands to work with to beat.
Yeah, we do. There's room for improvement. Bill Bachmeyer, who finished 3rd in the street stock race earlier on tonight, is going to line up on the pole for this one alongside of Brian Hogue. Now, Brian Hogue comes into this race 2nd in the point standings, 44 points back from points leader Grant Wesley, so he needs a good run here this evening with only 3 racers remaining in this schedule. Scott Monksgaard and Terry Bauman going to be there in row 2, and Grant Wesley is going to bring up the rear here in this second heat.
Brockmeyer probably got the best position he could ask for. He was one of the fastest cars during practice, and I'm surprised at the game. I should say the sim gave him the pole position for this heat. That 21 machine is going to just take off like a rocket here, uh, as the admins are preparing. Look like they are resetting the race for the warm-ups. Still going to be on the older track of I shouldn't say older, but a more worn down track for these guys in Heat 2. It's going to be a struggle for them racing out there right now.
Now, if you tuned into the street stock race earlier on, we were in kind of twilight conditions. The lights have now turned on here at Lernerville, so the track's obviously going to be cooled down a little bit. Is there anything that affects the race cars with the dirt being cooler?
It allows the moisture in the track to stay in just a little bit more for these cars when nighttime comes around, but it's kind of similar for these drivers. It drives a lot nicer in nighttime compared to the twilight zone. So these drivers can have a lot more grip comparatively to what the street stocks had.
So Bill Bachmeyer going to be on that inside line. Now, one thing we did see in the second heat of the street stocks was the driver that started on the pole on the inside of row one didn't necessarily get the entry they wanted into the corner and faded towards the back. So we'll see if Bachmeyer can clear Brian Hogue before they get into turn one. Those two going to be side by side. This is going to be interesting going into the first corner.
I'm really extremely interested to see where Grant Wesley's going to put his car in the 88 machine as he's battling back in the middle of the pack as the 69 machine off the track.
The Waffle House machine is off course and now back on course. That's Terry Ballman in the 69 car. He'll drop back to 5th place, but keeps the car in one piece at least. And as you alluded to, everyone knows they're going to be transferring to the main event. The 21 off course on the back straightaway. Here comes the 14 of Hogue for the race lead.
And right now, Hogue trying to dig it deep, keeping the momentum, but right now, the 21 right on the back bumper, going to try to do a slide job here in turn number one.
He tried to cross him over out of 4, couldn't get alongside of Brian Hogue, and now Bachmeyer, half a car length advantage going into 3. Ooh, he got his tires down there on the grass, somehow going to make that work. Here comes Hogue crossing him over again out of 4.
And puts him into the wall, the 21 goes, there goes the 14 off the track, and it's going to be the 21 right now in the lead. Well, there goes the 14 car back on course, but back and forth.
And that moves Monksgard now into 2nd, Wesley up to 3rd. It's now the 21 and the 44 as we are halfway home in this heat.
Well, we said could they top it, and they're doing a pretty good job at it right now. This 21 car of Bachmeyer going to be trying to pull away, but he's tried everything he can, but that car's a little bit wounded from all the contact that he's had so far.
And there's Grant Wesley. It's the first time really tonight that we've seen Wesley back in traffic. He was out in front in his heat. Although the 21's off, Bachmeyer is off from the race lead.
And he is completely off. He is still trying to get back on the course, and he finally does now, dropping back to 4th place.
But going back to Grant Wesley there, it's the first time we've seen him in traffic, not out in the race lead. He started out in front in his heat race in the street stocks. He started out in front in the main event, led every lap in each event that he was in. Now he's in 2nd place on the final lap, trying to get a position here up front against Scott Monksgard.
He's going to try the slide job, not able to keep the momentum, but he's still close enough. He's just got to dig it deep into here, throwing it all the way down close to the grass. Can Wesley do it? Get a contact made, but not able to hold on to the lead.
Monksgard was able to keep it off the wall, kept his momentum. He's going to win the 2nd heat of the night over Grant Wesley, Brian Hogue, Bill Bachmeyer, and Terry Ballman. 0.2 of a second that time at the line, but I'm telling you what, Sam, as these drivers are going to prepare for the warm-up, which is going to be about 5 minutes, there's no doubt in my mind that if we have anything like what we just had in those heats, putting 11 cars out on track, this one's going to be wild.
It's going to be a fun one for sure. I mean, we saw our front 2 battling hard in that heat number 1, and same thing for heat number 2. Putting even all the fast cars up front, you know it's going to be hard-fought battle all around.
All right, so let's set the stage for you as far as the points in this one. Kind of alluded to it that it's really a 2-horse race. Grant Wesley and Brian Hogue separated by 44 points. Some of the other drivers, though, that are doing well in the standings, Steve Robbins, he's 3rd in points. 4th is Brian Ordo. Sean Kerrigan right now in 5th, along with Michael Massey. We didn't see Massey in the street stocks race earlier tonight, so he's making his first start of the evening here in the late models. Terry Bauman is 7th in points, 8th is Scott Monksgard, and the other driver that would be inside the top 10 that's going to be in the field tonight is Martin Karch. He is in a three-way tie for the 10th position.
Now, a little thing for our audience to remember. So, when we were watching the heat races, they were on gradually. The track was getting worse and worse. They are right now warming up on the track with a completely fresh course. They're now wearing it down here on warm-ups. And how worn it is after warm-ups is the way they will start off the race. So, these drivers trying to get used to, kind of get their rhythm started now, so that when the race gets going, they feel a lot more comfortable on the track.
All right, so we have our top three finishers from the street stock race in the field here. Grant Wesley, Scott Schroyer, and Bill Bachmeyer. Are they the ones we're looking at to maybe be up front in this one, or is there somebody else that we didn't see finish up in the top three in the street stock race that's kind of piquing your interest?
I gotta say the 44 machine is piquing my interest as well as Robin. Wesley is looking quick, and he's probably one of the fastest cars on track during practice time. But I mean, also Bill Mockmeyer back there starting 8th. If he can keep his car on the course, that 21 machine is the fastest car from practice.
I would also keep an eye on the 33 of Martin Karch. Right now, he is at the top of the board here in warm-up, and he has gone to victory lane twice in the last 3 weeks. So look to him to maybe be someone here, and I believe it was Schroyer actually talked about just how good Martin is at the dirt tracks, how it seems to be he and Wesley up at the front all the time. So we didn't see him get quite the run he was looking for in the street stocks race. We'll see if he can get some redemption now in the late models.
Yeah, the 33 machine will be starting in, I believe, 7th place. So back there with the 21 machine and back in the back of the pack. It's going to be a rough battle for most of these drivers out here, as getting through traffic is already tough enough here on the dirt courses, because everyone's going to be going anywhere from 2 to 4, sometimes 5 wide through the corners, trying to figure out the lane that will get them up front the quickest. And it's got to be careful. Contact will be made here tonight. Who will survive and who will stay on course is the real question.
And I'm not really sure if it's just the type of car or the track conditions or maybe a combination of both, but just based off of those heat races, it looks like we may see more pack racing. I mean, they were kind of spread out in the street stock race. They were all up each other's gearboxes in those heat races.
Yeah, I would expect them to start to spread out after about 10 laps or so, if we can stay green. That's the thing. We're going to continue with cautions here in the featured race, with it being 50 laps here tonight for the featured. You never know, we might be seeing a lot of cautions like we saw the end of the street stocks and how that went.
And of course, same rules apply as far as restarts as well. I believe they're going to do the Delaware restart rules, although we did see them go to single file in the closing stages of the street stock race, so we'll see if they keep it with single file here at the initial start of this race, or if they'll try the Delaware restart again, and if it doesn't work, then they go to the single file near the end of this race.
Yeah, I believe with the street stocks, they tried it once and it just didn't go as well as they thought it was going to go, so then they went to single file restarts for the drivers. We will have to wait for race admins if they feel like just for the rest of the night they'll stick with single file restarts. By the way, and see once we go green, but that's happening in less than 30 seconds is when we'll start gridding up and getting ready to go.
All right, so lightning round here with these 30 seconds remaining. You talked about before we came back live how contact with these drivers definitely affects them as opposed to contact with the street stocks. Why is that?
That's just because these cars are a little bit, the way that they're angled, and if you make any contact with the front bumper, it's going to be a lot more of it digging into the ground and affecting your car that way. The street stocks are a lot more built for bumping and rubbing on the bumpers and sides of your cars. These machines, it's a lot more aero dependent, and also the tires are a lot more susceptible to taking some damage in that aspect. So we're expecting to see some contact here, but if we see any cars getting up into the wall, it could be disastrous for their races.
Warm-up is over. The field gets ready to grid for this 50-lap main eventer here tonight at Lernerville Speedway. Scott Schroyer in that 9,000ths of a second finish in the first heat is your pole sitter. Scott Monksgard is going to be second. Steve Robbins lines up third with Grant Wesley in fourth. Sean Kerrigan will be fifth. Brian Hogue sixth. Martin Karch and Bill Bachmeyer row 4. Michael Massey in 9th. Terry Bauman, we're waiting for him to get on track. He'd be rolling off from 10th. And Brian Ordo would be 11th. That's the completion of your main event field here tonight.
for some of these drivers out here, it's gonna be a hard-fought battle up front. I'm really interested to see how the 33 and the 21 starting back in 7th and 8th. How are they going to be able to get through the field? Because there's going to be a lot of traffic to get by.
We talked about Scott Schroyer in the street stock race, how he had only made 4 starts, including tonight, and finished in the top 5 in all 4 of them. Same statistics here in the late model series. 3 starts, 3 finishes inside of the top 5, and he's the pole sitter this evening. Schroyer looking for his first win of the season.
Really up front, it's about getting the green, getting single filed up, and getting going. You don't want to stay in this double to 4 wide action because you never know when you might make some contact with another machine. Your spotter is going to be constantly talking your ear off, trying to tell you where drivers are and trying to make sure that you are clear when you are so you can make some bold moves. Drivers got to be having their heads on a swivel here tonight, but it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Grant Wesley was on the pole for the street stock race. He rolls off 4th here in the late models race. Now, he's been consistent this season, no doubt about it. That's why he's your points leader coming into this race. Had 3 wins in a row back in races 2, 3, and 4, but then it was a long time from May 29th to July 17th before he finally went back to victory lane. He's now looking to go for 2 wins in a row and 5 wins on the season.
Great flag in the air for final heat of the night for 50 laps. We're green going into turn number 1, still side-by-side action.
We're 3 wide, almost 4 wide going into turn 1 with Kerrigan. That was the 33 of Karch up there as well. I think that was Hogan, the 14, way up top side.
Wesley off.
Got crowded and he's into the wall. Got other cars into the wall there. Hoag's into the wall. Bauman's into the wall off of 4.
And up front, it's going to be the 44 machine just pulling away and feeling comfortable now as all the cars in the back really hard contact of just pushing machines all over the place. It's still a hornet's nest from about 6th on back.
And they got these top 5 all under a blanket as well. And let's not forget that Monksguard out in front started on the outside of the front row. That's the preferred line going into the corner, and that's why Schroyer lost the lead because he wasn't in the preferred line going into the first corner.
Rashmar is going to be in 5th place at the moment, as well as the 33 and 4th. Been able to gain a couple positions, waiting to pounce. This 21 almost dumped it off the course.
57 of Schroyer up the track there. He's got Steve Robbins right behind him. Martin Karch right there as well. They are all right within striking distance of race leader Monksguard. And you're right, the caution is out. Looks like it might have been for the 69, possibly, of Terry Bauman off of turn 4.
Looks like Bauman was already off the course, trying to figure out how to get back up to speed off of 4, and just when he got on the course, he was too slow, bringing out our first caution of the day for this featured race.
Bauman was already a lap down when he brought the caution out, so I believe that he would not be eligible for the free pass here, since he was the reason for the yellow. Here you see his first problem getting off of the track on the back straightaway. And as you alluded to, he then uses the access road, the pit lane road, to get back onto the track. And unfortunately, it seems like iRacing, realizing that that car was slow, felt that the car might have maybe been stopped on the track, and that's why the caution was thrown out.
This caution is huge for the 88 machine. Remember, they have the fast repair that they can use and is being utilized now. Quickly into the pits and quickly off. It's going to be Grant Wesley, who is right now coming off pit road.
We saw the 69 of Terry Bauman actually did come to a stop there on pit road exit. My assumption is he was waiting to see if there was any oncoming traffic. He didn't want to merge in front of any race leaders.
Yeah, when he was off of the course, he saw all the lead lap cars driving past him, and he was just making sure he was good. And when he got back onto the course, he just was going too slow for iRacing's liking. Caution came out, but for our leaders, they only got to run a couple of laps here. It's going to be a long race, and you're already seeing how much they're racing of a pack, like you were saying earlier on the stream.
Like they're going to go Delaware restart. That's where the race leader is in a row by himself, and then everyone doubles up behind him as Scott Monksguard's going to get us back underway here. We're counting only green flag laps in this main event. We're now on to lap 6.
Lap 6 underway, and I mean, these guys aren't just going to be bouncing all over the place trying to figure out a slide job in front of another car, and it looks like it's the 33 machine making some bold moves up to 3rd already.
There's the Steve Robbins car down on the bottom. Oh, contact! Bachmeyer got into the 33.
Oh, no.
He's up and into
Car's
another
upside
car.
down.
caution.
That's Massey who got flipped upside down, still upside down right now. And that just started off the exit of 3 into 4, corner number 4, and it was just a rough accident for a lot of machines.
That was Bachmeyer into the back of Karch. Both of them almost had it saved, but then when Karch tried to overcorrect it again, unfortunately to his outside was that machine of Michael Massey, and when he got squeezed up into the wall, that sent his 45 up and over and onto its roof.
It's just a rough day for the start of this race. We were only able to get to lap number 7 of Green Flag Racing, and looking like a few cars going to be hit with an EOL. That's actually going to be the 21 who gets hit with the EOL for causing that caution.
And there it is again. See Massey absolutely nowhere to go, was committed to that outside line, and unfortunately when the 33 tried gathering it back up, he was the one that was in the racing line, and so Massey gonna undoubtedly be probably using his fast repair here early on in this one.
Right now, Massey just hanging out in the pits. I don't know if he decided to select or accidentally deselected his quick repair, but the 45 still in the pits and announced by race control. We're doing another Delaware restart for these guys.
The Monk's Guard again will have them doubled up behind him, but he will be in a row of his own. Then you'll have Schroyer and Robbins side by side in the second row. And then Martin Karch and Brian Hogue now the completion of the top 5. And yeah, Michael Massey must not have had his fast repair checked, because Grant Wesley definitely did use his fast repair, as he was only in there for about a second and a half as green flag is back in the air.
Lap number 8 underway, and it's going to be the 44 machine on the outside, feeling good, but it's contact almost made, back in 4th place.
Martin Karch and Brian Hogue battling for those positions as, ooh, boy, Robin got really loose there off of turn 4. Car up into the wall there on the front straightaway. That's Hogue.
Yeah, Hogue almost made contact with Karch in that 33 machine, able to stay going. A lot of these guys are racing so hard, trying to get as much as they can on the outside. But it's one of those things of you try to prepare yourself for the car in front of you, and sometimes you're just not able to get the momentum to make the pass.
15 of Sean Kerrigan pulls to the inside. He's going to go a lap down as the leaders were fast approaching him. And you see Hogue there in that 4th position. He is second in the points, 44 points behind Grant Wesley. Wesley, after using that fast repair, has been able to work his way back up to 6th.
Yeah, it's a great rebound for that 88 machine. Also helps that a couple of other cars had their accidents in that last caution that allowed the 88 car to make some moves. It's a pass for the lead, possibly underway. Slide job made. Will it stick? No, it won't. It's the 44 car on the inside.
Monk's Guard back to the bottom, but now the 57 has the outside line, so maybe Schroyer might be able to clear him here going into 1, and he will.
I was looking back, the 33 machine got extremely out of shape.
Steve Robbins almost off course. Sorry to cut you off. Is he near? Well, he is going to be off course here on the back straightaway.
Finally gets back on course around. Oh, he's still off. He's still struggling to get that car back onto the racing surface, still losing even more positions, back to 7th place.
That's a tough break there for Robbins. We've seen a lot of drivers get off course, but then they recover and get back on. Sometimes not losing any positions, but that's going to drop the 073 all the way back outside of the top 5. The battle is on for 4th. That's the 2 guys battling for the championship, as Hogue may have gotten put up into the wall, and now he's off course in turn 1.
Hogue off course, and he is completely spun out, trying to get back on course, and will do so. And caution, not going to be out. We stay green.
Now the top 3 have been able to kind of break away for the moment. Back to the 4th place car of Martin Karch. As all this has been going on, Brian Ordo's been able to move his way up into the top 5 in 5th place.
Yeah, Ordo's been, he's just been riding around trying to make sure he doesn't put himself in any type of situation that will hurt himself, letting everyone else kind of throw their race away.
Battle for 2nd. Monk's Guard looks in his rearview mirror, sees Grant Wesley looming large and in charge. This is going on about a second and a half behind race leader Scott Schroyer.
Schroyer's loving this battle that's going on. The more they battle, the more that he can pull away. But here comes Wesley with the slide job, trying to get it done on the 44 machine. And contact made! Wesley goes around.
Will that
Caution's
bring
out.
out a yellow? It will, as he stops up near the racing line. Caution's going to fly for the third time here tonight. A slide job that did not go the way that Wesley expected. I thought we were going to see Monksguard try and cross him over, but Monksguard stuck to that outside line. Oh, and Kerrigan up and into the wall there, going into turn 1 under pacing.
Everyone's trying to woe up for the pace car, and that's why everyone came to almost to a complete dead stop there in turn number 1. And the 44 machine of Monksguard is going to be given an EOL for the contact that spun around the 88 machine of Grant Wesley. So it's going to put the 44 machine back in the end of the line.
Yeah, I was a little confused by that because we've seen a lot of times if a car clears the other using that slide jump on the inside, then the car that's behind will cross over to the inside trying to take the spot back. Monksguard never swapped to the inside line, and Wesley had him cleared off of 2, just ran the 88 car over.
I mean, there's you kind of have to take a cockpit view of the 44 to see if he was even able to. I mean, sometimes you get into a rhythm where you're just not able to make that bold of a move or quick of aggressive move to dive to the inside, but kind of yeah, it was a really odd situation there. But maybe Monksguard thought he was okay to make a bump, but difficult move made right there.
Well, let's also remember, too, if we're going to go back to Steve Robbins, how difficult it was for him to get back on track. Maybe these drivers and these cars, the way it's set up, it's not that easy to be able to turn the car to the left on a dime like that.
Or sometimes if you pull it to the left too quick, you will actually just spin the car out. So you're better off sometimes just digging it into the car in front of you and hoping that you can bump draft your way through. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. More cars coming into the pits and getting action served. That's going to be the 15 car using up his fast repair, and other cars still in the pits. The 45 went back in.
Like Bill Bachmeyer has called it a night, he's going to finish in the 11th position in this main event race, as it's going to be Scott Schroyer getting us back under green flag conditions. We are nearing halfway home here in the main event.
Schroyer has a lot of eyes.
Oh, we got a car up in the wall there. Was that Bauman, I think?
I think it was the 69 machine, but the battle for the lead underway. 33 machine digs it deep. Slide job being made. Crossover move by the 57.
And it will be the 57 clearing into the corner. Ooh, 33 of Karch way up the track there. Keeps it together as Brian Ordo now enters the fray. Here comes to his outside Steve Robbins for third.
Another slide drop being thrown by the 33 machine, and you know, where he is making that move, if it's the final lap, that's a great move, but for right now, you're kind of just wasting time. Caution in the back.
It's going to be Brian Ordo, who was just up in the 4th position moments ago, and he has to teleport that car to pit road as he went for a long slide off of turn 1.
He was trying to figure out how to make a corner there, and it wasn't actually the 71 that made the accident come out. I think it was actually the 69 that brought out the caution, but Ordo, heavy contact into the outside wall, and then also contact with the 14 machine that entering turn number 1.
We'll go back and first see what happened to Terry Ballman, bringing out this 4th caution of the evening. And then we'll see what happened to the 71. Oh, yeah, you see the 71 gets the wall there. Oh, wow. Are up and over, that being the 14 of Brian Hogue, as I think he was trying to slow up for the 71 that was spinning in front of him, and Bauman just slid in and clobbered him.
And looking at right now, looking like the 15 machine going to get a wave around for this caution.
But Kerrigan with that fast repair going to be back on the lead lap, so we'll see if he can make any forward progress, as it looks like Michael Massey, who we saw up and on his lid earlier on in this race, he is calling it a night as well. We saw the initial contact there between Hogue and Ordo, and it looks like Ordo may be out of this race as well. Might have been connection issues. We'll wait and follow up on that.
Looking to see, I believe Ordo has put the car behind the wall. He has disconnected from the server. So the 71 machine, who was running up in the top 3 at one point, looking like his race is done. Pace car is going to roll off, getting ready to go green again.
Going to be 22 laps once the green flag comes out, leaving us 29 laps to go. As it's going to be Schroyer out in front, and we saw some great side-by-side crossover moves being made between himself and Martin Karch. Karch did not get the restart he wanted right there, as he's got Robbins battling him for second. Now he's going to clear for that spot.
Oh, no!
Blinks out.
He
Where is he
blinked
going to
out.
reappear?
Oh yeah, he's on the high side, out of the way, and no one was going to blink inside of one another. And those are the scary moments when you're getting really close to someone who's been doing a slide job, and you have no idea where they're going to pop up.
Especially with the fact all these drivers are racing in such close proximity. It's kind of like racing at a super speedway. If the car reappears, chances are pretty good he may reappear inside of another race car.
I mean, I got to give credit to Hogue, who's up, caution in the back.
And it's the 44, I believe, of Scott Monksgaard. Looks like he may have had an issue up there in turn 4.
Coming down the back stretch, got his tires a little bit too close on the outside, spun it around. And then when he was trying to get back onto the course, bringing out our caution.
Very similar to what happened at Terry Bauman earlier. Coming back onto the pit road exit, waiting for cars to go by, and because the car was stopped on track, so to speak, iRacing throwing the caution. So 5th caution of the night, and we haven't quite yet reached halfway in this race.
Oh, once we go green, we're going to be 1 lap away from halfway. But due to the fact that with the dirt races, we do not count these caution laps as actual laps for the race officially. So only counting the green flag laps being ran by the drivers. So it's going to be an interesting one for these drivers. I think I might be wrong, but I think I might have heard there was a possible chance of single file, but they're deciding now race control. We're going to do a Delaware for this next restart.
You know, we're seeing a lot more cautions earlier on in this race than we saw in the street stock race, and I have to wonder, going back to a point you were talking about with the difference of the cars, these cars, are they maybe a little bit lighter and more subject to when contact's made not being able to save it?
I mean, due to the fact, we were talking with the street stocks how easy it was, per se, to keep your car whenever you got loose or off track to get it back on course. It's so much harder with these cars. They're unstable in some fashions around the corner, and they've got so much more horsepower. It's a lot more difficult to really keep these cars under check. But Brabant coming with a head of steam coming in here, trying to make a pass for second.
Martin Karch with a big run on the outside, though. He will clear Robin for second place and now sets his sights back on Scott Schrober for the race lead. Boy, he's probably the one car that runs higher than anybody in turns 1 and 2.
Grant Wesley able to make the pass cleanly for second, but here comes Karch in that 33 machine. Slide job for the lead, not able to make it work.
He had his front tires down in the grass. You are allowed to do that here at the dirt track. And look at Wesley up into second place from out of nowhere.
How long is that going to last, though, for the 88 car? Here goes the 33 trying to do a slide job. It could cost him greatly as he's going to lose momentum. Contact made. Not a caution yet because they're keeping it straight, but man, are they racing hard up here. As battle for third, for fourth, very close as well.
Brian Hogue realizing that Grant Wesley is now ahead of him, gaining points. He's trying to get by Steve Robbins for that 4th position. Meanwhile, up at the front, now Scott Schrober looks in his rearview mirror. It's no longer the pink machine of Martin Karch hunting him down. It's Grant Wesley, the points leader.
Wesley has been looking quick ever since he got that fast repair. He's been cleanly getting by a lot of these machines. That contact with the 33 a couple laps ago hurt him just slightly, as you're seeing Schrober trying to find some speed as he feels like the outside isn't the best spot at the moment.
Let's remind everybody that these drivers do have one fast repair at their disposal. Drivers that have used them so far.
Slide job for second place. 33 car able to make it work there for a second there.
Drivers that have used that fast repair so far: Grant Wesley, Brian. Oh no! Terry Bauman just took out second and third.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I saw that the 69 was running slow, but I thought he maybe would get out of the way for our leaders, but I think there might have been contact between the 69 and our leader. Yeah, there was, which then spun the 69 around and up into traffic. Oh my goodness.
Wow. It's a short track, folks, so traffic does come into play, and it certainly did here, bringing out the 6th caution of the evening.
Oh, the 88 machine of Wesley flipped over on that accident. Heavy contact overall, and he's already used his fast repair.
Oh, yes, he did. You're right. I was going to go through the list of drivers that had used them, and you saw right there as Schroyer tried to make the move, putting Terry Bauman a lap down. He got him in the left front. That spun the 69 car around and unfortunately sent him up into the racing line where Grant Wesley and Martin Karch were battling for that second position.
It's just a heavy contact and such a weird spot to you have once you throw your car into the corner, you're kind of stuck in that lane, and there's no way to really stop that quick with these dirt machines. The brakes don't really slow you down that much coming into these corners on dirt.
Well, we mentioned Grant Wesley had used his fast repair. Other drivers out there that have also used their fast repairs, Brian Hogue and Sean Kerrigan, and there you see the hit for both the 33 and the 88, who I should mention are the winners of the last 3 races involved in that one.
Well, that's the risk of driving around and having lap machines out there is you never know if they'll be able to get out of the way, and the contact with our leader really put the 69 machine in a non-controllable moment. You hate to see that type of fashion hurt Grant Wesley and the rest of the crew out there racing, but just shrinks the field down as we're coming to 20, soon to be 19 laps to go when they cross the line to go green.
Now, Grant Wesley and Terry Bauman both on pit road trying to get repairs done to their cars. I think Wesley has just now returned to the track, so right now scored 1 lap down in the 7th position. This is an opportunity. Oh no! 33 up into the wall off of 4. That's going to give Robbins the 2nd position. Karch now under fire from Hogue for 3rd, and that's what I was going to mention was Hogue now has an opportunity to gain points on Grant Wesley, depending on how high he can finish.
Right now, Hogue trying to hold on to 3rd, possibly get up to 2nd, but with him, he's got to somehow get into that high line. Being stuck on the low line like he is, it's not going to work out for the 14 car in the long run, as at some point he's going to lose that momentum.
Well, the good news for him right now is that 33 of Karch, remember, he got a huge hit to the front end of his race car on that last wreck, so he's not going to quite have the straightaway speed that he had before.
Yeah, that 33 machine has some rear end damage as well, so that car, it might look decent right now, but there is some damage that could be hindering him just slightly here as we're running around this track.
Got Schroyer out in front, hoping this thing can go green to the end because he's enjoying a 1.7 second gap back to Robbins. Robbins
17.
is by himself as well.
The 15 machine of Cregan almost spun it around. He almost came to a dead stop with how loose this car has become for him.
Kerrigan's used a fast repair, but he's currently up in the 6th position. Scott Monksgaard in the 44 car. He was involved in a caution earlier on after starting up towards the front on the outside of the front row. He's now been able to fight his way back up into the top 5.
Really, Grant Wesley's praying for a caution to come out and for him not to be involved. If caution comes out, he should be getting the wave around. We put him back on the lead lap. Only problem, he's running about 4/10 slower than what he was running before against our leader.
And he's also only got maybe a straightaway between himself and Scott Schroyer, which would put him another lap down and take away his opportunity with 10 laps to go to get back onto the lead lap and try and make some more forward progress here in the field.
Well, with all the damage and the way that this race has started out with all the cautions, everyone's kind of spread out to about a second or more on everyone else. They kind of put themselves in the defined places. Now it's more of, can you stay on track and stay consistent and don't drift off?
Well, Scott Schroyer was the pole sitter for this race, but he did not lead the beginning stages because he was on the inside line on the initial start, not the preferred line going into turn 1. He was able to fight his way to the front and has not looked back since, as he's going to have to deal potentially with that 88 of Grant Wesley before this race is over. But 7.5 laps to go for that 57 car. He's finished in the top 5 in every one of his starts here in the late model series, but he hasn't been to victory lane yet.
Now, I was initially saying the 88 car was running a little bit slower, but I think he finally found that rhythm with the damage that he has sustained, as now he's running just as quick, maybe a little bit slower than our leader, sometimes a little bit faster than him for the 88 machine.
Saw that slip up there out of turn 4 for Steve Robbins a lap ago. That translated to 4/10 lost by the 073. The gap now 1.8 seconds.
Really closest battle on track is going to be for that 4th position, and 44 machine of Monk's Guard is going to really look like he's struggling on the outside to keep the car on the track, as he's struggling and really hunting at the moment to find any type of grip and speed out here on the track. We're coming to the end. Really, it's just trying to survive and keep that position.
You can see the rear end damage on the 44. Now we know for the stock cars, when you're at 1.5 miles and that rear spoiler is all pushed in, a loose race car is going to be even looser. Is that affecting him the same way here in this late model car?
It's affecting him just slightly, but not as aggressive as we would see as stock cars would be, just because dirt is more about how you can dig into a corner and get around it. As that spoiler, it helps a ton, but not as much as a regular stock car would be.
Steve Robbins has been able to close it up by 3/10, but he's still got 1.5 seconds to close in on the 57 with 2 laps to go. Schroyer seems content to run the inside line right now, trying to see if he can close up on the 88 of Grant Wesley and put him another lap down before this race is over, but I almost think you might want to let that 88 go. You've got a cushion to work with right now.
Yeah, doesn't really need to worry about it. White flag in the air with a 1.3 second gap coming across the line. Schroyer's feeling pretty good at the moment, doesn't really need to pressure anyone.
He finished second in the street stock race earlier tonight. He is en route to being the only driver to finish in the podium in both races this evening as he takes the checkered flag here tonight in the late model race at Lernerville.
Coming off of corner number 4, the challenge for that 4th position, not going to be gained by 33, just wasn't close enough to make the slide job work.
Monk's Guard will hold on to 4th, Karch in 5th, with Brian Hogue 3rd, Steve Robbins in 2nd, following race winner Scott Schroyer, his first win of the season here in the Rolling Thunder Gaming Dirt Late Model Series. Easy for me to say, as he pulls that 57 into victory lane.
A beautiful race win for that 57 machine. Once he got the lead, there was nothing holding him back. No one else really was able to be challenging because they were all scrapping it behind him.
And let's also remember how Scott Schroyer got to be the pole sitter for this race, winning a 9,000th of a second photo finish back in the first heat race.
And the guy that he was challenging, car behind him, that finished
Yes.
2nd place. So both those cars in heat number 1 really showed up here in the featured race.
We had a total of 5 drivers finish on the lead lap. Sean Kerrigan finished in 6th. Grant Wesley must have had an issue there on that final lap, as he's going to finish in 7th. Or no, I'm sorry, he was a lap down. I thought he was 2 laps down, but no, he was a lap down. 7th place where he'll finish. Terry Bauman, Brian Ordo, Michael Massey all had issues here this evening, as did Bill Bachmeyer. That's going to be your 11th place finisher and the completion of tonight's field. Let's get some words with some of our top 3 finishers. Let's kick things off with 3rd place running Brian Hogue. And apparently the person that's supposed to be moving the people up for us might be AFK. So we will see if we can get our 3rd place finisher here.
But as we're preparing to bring drivers in, I mean, overall, this race was a very entertaining one from top to bottom. I mean, even with the heat races, with the way they were going on, you really didn't know who was going to win the race. Even in this featured race, Troyer looked like he was the dominant car at times, but at other times, you didn't know if he was going to win this thing with the way that
User joined
Wesley's
your
running
channel.
and everything else.
And we have our 3rd place finisher, Brian Hogue, with us. Brian, Sam, and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. And I mean, you know, coming into this race, you got 3 races, not including tonight, 4 races if you include tonight, to be able to chip away at a 44-point lead. Definitely a step in the right direction, but kind of an adventure to get to that point.
Yeah, tonight was quite the adventure.
We saw a lot of racing going on for position from about 3rd place on back, and you were right in the middle of it. A lot of drivers even going up and getting the outside wall there on the front straightaway. How difficult was it racing side by side with these late model cars as opposed to the street stocks you did earlier this evening?
I know if you're running the bottom here at Lernerville, coming up off the bottom, you'll drift up into the top lane there, and if there's a car outside, you'll have to lift. If you know, if not, you're going to hit the wall.
Yeah, I mean, Brian, let's talk about the most eventful thing that happened with your night. Going for a little bit of a flip ride out there. How was that from the cockpit view?
Oh, I want to talk about that, but otherwise, it was all right. It wasn't too bad.
Well, obviously, Brian, a great run for you here this evening. Definitely a lot better than what happened in the street stocks. At a podium finish, you're going to gain some points there on the 88 as well, with 3 races remaining. So certainly looking like you may make it a pretty good battle for that championship when we head to that season finale at Knoxville. But we're going to let you do some shoutouts now.
Thank you. I want to thank RTG, all the owners, Sean Prime, Terry Ballman, and David Cannon for letting us put this on. All the admins that help out here, you guys for broadcasting. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but shout out to everybody that supports me and helps me along with this stuff.
Well, that's Brian Hogue. He finishes P3 here tonight at Lernerville. Congrats on a great run and good luck for the remainder of the season as you try and fight your way for that championship.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And we're going to see if we can get a word with our second place finisher, Steve Robbins. And then eventually we will go down to Victory Lane and get word with Scott Schroyer. So as we're waiting here for Steve to join us.
I mean, Steve went and had an eventful night overall. I mean, you got the win in the street stacks heat racing, and then almost got another heat win here in the late models and finishing up just second place at 1.1 seconds away from our leader.
User was moved to your
Close coming
channel.
in.
And we have second place finisher Steve Robbins here with us. And Steve, first, I want to go back to the first heat race, that photo finish that the two of you had. I mean, did that give you any idea of maybe something to set up for the end of the main event race as well?
I was trying to learn from it. I tell you, I didn't think he got me. I went back and I watched it, and he got me. But I don't know how he got through and got it to stick. But yeah, I tried to catch up to him on the feature, and that's what my plan was. But it just wasn't meant to be.
What's the huge difference for a driver driving the street stock cars that you did earlier here tonight as opposed to these late model cars?
Oh boy. Um, the wider tires on these cars, I think they help get you around the corner better than the street stocks do. But there's more throttle to them, and I don't know. It's just I think these are easier to drive than the street stocks.
I mean, Steve, it was overall a great night in some ways. You got the heat win in street stocks. You almost got another heat win here in the late models, getting second here. But I know it wasn't an easy road to get that second place finish. How was it battling out with all the other drivers throughout the middle of this race?
Oh, it was a little scary, a little rough. There was a little bumping and banging. The track was decent, but it was starting to get slick, and I think that I probably would have finished farther back in the pack if there wasn't so many accidents.
Well, obviously, a great run for you here tonight, Steve. A tremendous effort to work your way up to that second position. We were talking about the fact that it seems that it's difficult with the cautions that come out for drivers to be able to get back into a rhythm, but you were really good there on the restarts, picking up positions, and you bring it home P2. We're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Um, I want to thank RTG for putting us on. I've been racing with them for a couple seasons now, and a bunch of great guys, the owners, the admins, everybody that I race with here, and you guys for putting it on.
Well, that's Steve Robbins. It's his 7th top 5 of the season. Second place run here tonight at Lernerville. Congrats on a great run.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're going to go down to Victory Lane and get a word here with Scott Schroyer, who started on the pole position for this race. Didn't lead all the laps, but certainly led the second half of this race to the checkered flag. And looks like we're going to have to wait a moment here, as he's probably still down there in victory lane celebrating his first win of the season.
Yeah, we got to taste a little bit of it in that heat number 1 here in the late models, and then finishing it off with getting
User joined your
that
channel.
win here in the featured. I mean, it was a great run overall.
And we now have him, Scott Schroyer. Second time we're talking to you here tonight, Scott. You finished second in the street stocks, but P1 here tonight in the late model cars. But I want to go back. You know, we heard the opposite side of the photo finish in the first heat, which was the battle for the potential pole position for the main event. And you were on the winning side of that 9/1000ths of a second photo finish. Walk us through that through 3 and 4.
Yeah, that was unreal. I mean, I was racing Robbins there, and I just threw it in there, and it might have been late, and I appreciate Steve lifting and what, but I really thought he beat me to the line. I mean, that was just last chance, and he ditched a try. I just was really wanting to try to get on pole for that feature.
So let's fast forward to the feature. With getting the pole, you start on the inside of the front row. That's not the preferred line going into the first corner, as everybody, again, much like the street stock race, was migrated up around the top. So with knowing that you were at that little bit of a disadvantage and eventually losing the race lead on the first few laps, what was your strategy to be able to get that race lead back?
Just kind of settle in and just kind of race and figure out the track and where everybody was at, and just try to maintain and just start hitting my marks and start getting into a groove a little bit. And starting on the inside is tough. I told Martin Karch there in one of those restarts when he was starting on the inside, I said the inside, it sucks starting, and he agreed with me. So yeah, the inside is definitely not where you want to be to restart.
Yeah, Scott. I mean, you looked great once you got up into the lead and able to pull away from everyone, but you had that one scary moment with lap traffic. But really, give us what your thoughts were during that moment right there.
Well, I wasn't sure where Terry was going to go. I saw him when we come off of 4 there, and then when he went into 1, I just assumed by looking at his entry and his speed that he was just going to slide across the slick up to the top. So I just got lucky and decided to hook it around the bottom, and I know it was very, very close, and it's unfortunate the guys behind us got caught up in a wreck, because I know there were some damaged cars there at the end, and I was really looking forward to it. I know Martin and I were throwing sliders back and forth there in the middle part of the race, and it's a lot of fun.
Obviously, Scott, you come into this race 14th in points. It's only your fourth start of the season here in the late model series. Does that make it easier for you, not being in a championship battle near the closing of the season, to be able to just go out there and try and do what you got to do to be able to try and find victory lane?
Yeah, I'd say somewhat. I definitely would. It's just yeah, I don't have that added pressure, and I didn't realize where we were in points and how many races we've been. But yeah, when you're always running for points lead or points championship, you're always cautious of everything. And yeah, I'd say kind of throw caution to the wind a little more when you're not in it and you're just out here racing.
Well, obviously, we interviewed you as a runner-up finisher in the street stock race, but you're in victory lane now here for the late model, so we're going to let you do some shout-outs again.
Thank you guys. Like I said, looking forward to watching the replay, and you guys do an awesome job. RTG for the series and sponsorship, and all the great guys over here racing, and teammates with Martin, Brian, and Mike Massey, and just a good bunch of guys over here. We really enjoy it, and thanks for having me.
Well, that's Scott Schroyer. He goes coast to coast, pole to win here tonight in the RTG Dirt Late Model Series here this evening at Lernerville. Congrats on a great run.
Thanks, man. I enjoyed it.
And so that will finally conclude our coverage here this evening from Lernerville. Sam, we had the street stocks. We had an unbelievable finish there. We ended up having a great finish here as well in the late models, but two different types of races, it seemed.
Yeah, we got to see, for the street stocks, it was cautions at the end of the race. The late models was cautions early in the race, but overall, fantastic racing just to watch from top to bottom, from all the heats that we got to watch to the 2 features that we had there throughout the night.
And it almost kind of seems like two different scenarios as well, championship-wise, with Grant Wesley going to victory lane in the Street Stocks event. Kind of seems like that championship might be solidified, but a little bit of a question mark here now over in the late models, with Hogue being able to finish in third, Wesley finishing in seventh. Some points are going to be gained here this evening with 3 races remaining in the season.
Yeah, you just need a little bit of luck, and honestly, Grant Wesley lost his luck here tonight with a really. It wasn't his fault for that caution that came out that kind of ruined his night, but still one of those things where you got to continue to push on forward. There's still a lot of racing left in the season, and you can still have a chance to win this championship. And you just need to have those last couple of finishes be up front, and you've got this thing locked up.
Well, Lernerville did not disappoint here tonight. Usually the dirt tracks never do. We hope you guys enjoyed tonight's double header here from this slick dirt track with both the street stocks and the late models for Rolling Thunder Gaming. Sam, as always, appreciate you joining me in the booth.
It's always a pleasure, Seth.
We're going to be having a little bit of a bleak weekend here as far as broadcast. Chris Cup Series are going to be live from Atlanta Motor Speedway tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then you will not be seeing Flatout Racing Network broadcast until next week, when we're going to be having the IMRC Cup Series. They're going to be taking their green flag at the Nashville Speedway. But until then, for Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in this evening to another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.